Hi, folks. I'm Chris Dorr with Ohio Gun Owners, and in this video, I am going to address the email that your state representative, Kevin Miller, is sending around to people as an excuse why he voted against the most important pro-gun bill of this entire General Assembly, which is the Ohio Second Amendment Preservation Act. I'm going to address his email so that you guys can know the truth about Kevin Miller, and so that you'll be able to see how he is twisting the truth in order to justify his vote with the Democrats against your Second Amendment freedoms. Now, I'm going to pop his email up here so you guys can all read this along with me. We're going to read through it really quickly, and then I'll get to my comments on his email after. Now, I've redacted the personal information of the people who sent this to us, but I've copied and pasted his email word for word and changed nothing. So let's just read through it here really quickly. This is Kevin Miller again to his constituents about why he voted against the Second Amendment. He says, "I thought you should have the entire story for why I did what I did. I voted on December 11th to pass SB 58 on the House floor. The legislation prohibits any mandate for firearm owners to purchase liability insurance to exercise their constitutional right to own a firearm. Additionally, it incorporated SB 148. That's a key point. We're going to get back to that. It incorporated SB 148, which included several requirements related to the confidentiality or not anonymity of purchases of firearms and ammunition. It also prohibits actions by financial institutions that would disfavor firearm merchants or transactions involving firearms and ammunition. There was an amendment offered to add SAPA to the bill. However, we were informed by multiple representatives that had spoken to Senate leadership who advised that the amendment would have been a poison pill to the legislation, and the Senate would not have concurred on the bill. As a result, it would have killed two great gun bills. In my opinion, that was not an option. I felt we needed to take the win and work on SAPA in the upcoming General Assembly, which is why I voted to table. I have a solid history of voting for gun rights, as reflected by my endorsements by the NRA and Buckeye Firearms. I will continue to support legislation in this area as well. Thanks for reaching out, Kevin." Okay, so there's a bit to unpack here. Kevin is trying to tell you, I'll just leave that up for a minute. Kevin's trying to tell you that his votes as a representative are conditional on the Senate, which is horse hockey. He was elected as a state representative to vote on bills in the House of Representatives, not go check to make sure that it's okay with the other chamber before he casts his votes. Let me drill down here for a moment. The underlying bill, Senate Bill 58, was a good bill. It was just a far less important and substantive bill than what gun owners really deserve, and it could have been an everything bill had he simply held the line. Had he simply held the line and voted with the majority of House Republicans and voted yes on SAPA. You see, I'm going to slash this down here for a second. Lame duck session is the legislative session that occurs after the November elections and before the newly elected General Assembly is sworn in. The current representatives, their terms expire on December 31st. Lame duck session is the time. It's the time when the legislators all get back together, even though some of them have been unelected by their districts or have been termed out. It's when they get back together to pass all of the bills that couldn't pass or that they did not want to pass in the regular session for fear of backlash from the voters. During lame duck session, it is very sadly normal to see insane legislative maneuvering in order to get bills across the line. The Senate, for example, just a week ago, packed 18 amendments. That's 18 other bills that didn't get passed yet. They packed 18 amendments all into one bill and sent it over to the House. These omnibus bills are so bad that they are referred to as Christmas tree bills because everybody throws everything they want under the main bill, just like a Christmas tree, and then they vote it through. Anyway, Senate Bill 58 was already an omnibus bill, like he just mentioned. It was the combination, it was the product of two gun bills being merged together. Now, he says that adding SAPA to SB 58 would have been a poison pill, essentially, because the Senate says so, and that it would have killed the underlying bill. But his wording is critical here. He said, and let me pop that back up again. Where was that? He said that the Senate would not have concurred on the bill. See that right there? That's the point. The whole point is for the House to do their job and send it over to the Senate for a concurrence vote. If the Senate did not want the SAPA addition, if they did not agree with the House in adding that SAPA language to the bill, they could have voted no on concurrence and sent the bill to a conference committee and strip it out there. That's the normal process. That's what they're doing right now with other bills. But instead, we have no idea whatsoever what the Senate wanted to do, because it isn't the Senate that killed SAPA. It was the House. The House essentially took that vote to what? Protect the Senate? Miller is playing with words and counting on people like you to not know that adding a House amendment to a Senate bill or adding SAPA to SB 58 is normal and proper in a lame duck session. I've got a couple of last points here. Kevin Miller, he's not telling you this, but Kevin Miller broke away from the majority of House Republicans to kill SAPA. The majority, in other words, the majority of Ohio House Republicans agreed that SAPA should be added to the bill and sent over to the Senate. To be even more crystal clear here, Miller and his fellow Rhino Republicans, the ones that voted against, the ones that voted to kill the SAPA amendment, they were only able to kill SAPA by joining with the anti-gun House Democrats. As to his NRA and Buckeye endorsements, I mean, Mike DeWine, John Kasich, Stephanie Coonsey, Matt Dolan, John Eklund, Mike Haney, and many others have all enjoyed the NRA and BFA endorsements over the years. And all of those legislators or governors sponsored or tried to pass red flag gun confiscation laws in Ohio. Those endorsements are worthless. The last thing I'll mention here is this. Before he was a state representative, Kevin Miller was the lobbyist for the Ohio Highway Patrol. Miller personally testified against House Bill 89, which was a pro-gun, duty to notify repealer bill backed by OGO and OFCC and sponsored by one of the most pro-gun legislators ever in Ohio, Representative Scott Wiggum. And also, Miller's organization also opposed House Bill 228, which was at the time a repealer of the duty to retreat law, aka stand your ground. During his time as lobbyist, I never saw Kevin Miller one time lobby in favor of a pro-gun bill, but his organization on many times has opposed gun rights bills. That's the truth about Kevin Miller. And that's the truth about his vote against the most important pro-gun bill to come up for a vote